Setting sail from the docks in Southampton, England, the British passenger ocean liner named the RMS Titanic embarked on her maiden voyage on April 10, 1912, her planned destination, New York City. The massive luxury liner was operated by the innovative shipping company White Star Line and commandeered by Captain Edward John Smith. With 2,224 souls on board, the ship sailed majestically across the cold North Atlantic waters until it ran into a massive iceberg at 11:40 p.m. on April 14th, thereby sustaining irreparable damage. Just a few hours later, the famously unsinkable ship broke apart and descended into the icy ocean, taking over 1,500 victims down with her. Here are some of the most well-known passengers who were impacted by the tragedy, either as survivors or victims. Molly Brown. An American socialite and philanthropist whose husband had struck it rich in the mining industry, Molly Brown was then known for her showy hats and gregarious personality. While enjoying her wealth, she also spent her life contributing to society, advocating for the rights of women and the importance of children's education. Although she was known as Maggie during her lifetime, posthumously the world came to know her as the unsinkable Molly Brown, after her reported bravery during the Titanic disaster. According to survivors' accounts, Brown helped board other passengers into lifeboats during the evacuation and later helped to steer her own lifeboat number 6. Portrayed by Kathy Bates in the 1997 Titanic movie, Brown was seen to argue with the quartermaster that they should return to the wreckage to rescue more survivors. She even threatened to push him and his crew overboard if they did not go back, which they didn't. Captain Edward John Smith. Even after going down with his ship, Captain Edward John Smith was unable to avoid controversy. Despite being one of the world's most experienced sea captains, many blamed him for the Titanic's demise, with critics faulting him for approving the ship to travel at nearly its maximum speed, despite reports of ice in that area. It was later acknowledged that Smith was abiding by standard maritime practice, and at that time, ice was viewed as fairly harmless. Even when previous ocean liners had encountered head-on collisions, any damage had been recoverable. Reports varied widely on how Smith, played by Bernard Hill in Titanic, responded to the imminent sinking of the ship. Some eyewitnesses saw him actively assisting women and children onto the lifeboats while making all efforts to prevent panic. Others described him later becoming paralysed with fear and neglecting measures that may have saved more lives during the evacuation. At the last, he was believed to have done a final sweep of the ship's deck and imparted this simple instruction to his crew: "Well, boys, do your best for the women and children and look out for yourselves." His body was never recovered. John Jacob Astor IV. Real estate developer, inventor and lieutenant colonel in the Spanish-American War, John Jacob Astor IV was the richest passenger on board the Titanic, with a personal wealth of $87 million when he met his fate on the foundering ship. Friends of Molly Brown, he and his pregnant wife Madeline had booked the journey on the Titanic, wanting to return to the US to ensure that their baby would be born there. According to those present, Astor clung to the side of a raft, but as he froze to death in the sub-freezing conditions, he let go and drowned. When rescuers recovered his body, they found multiple gold and diamond accessories and over $2,400 on him. Benjamin Guggenheim. Mining magnate Benjamin Guggenheim boarded the ill-fated vessel with his staff and his mistress, French singer Leontine Aubar. The couple shared a cabin with his valet, Victor Gilliot, and slipped through the initial iceberg collision, only later realising the seriousness of the incident. After both had dressed and he had assisted O'Barr and some of his staff to enter lifeboat number 9, he reassured his fearful maid, "We shall soon see each other again. This is just a repair. Tomorrow the Titanic will continue on again." After realising that there were insufficient lifeboats and that they would not be rescued, Guggenheim and Giglio changed into their evening wear and entered the grand staircase area, with Guggenheim remarking, "We are prepared to go down like gentlemen." He wrote a message, later delivered to his wife, saying that his last thoughts would be of her and their 3 daughters. His and Giglio's bodies were never recovered. J. Bruce Ismay, survivor. As the highest-ranked official, chairperson and director of the White Star Line, the English businessman J. Bruce Ismay had also authorised the planned number of lifeboats reduced from 48 to 16. When he jumped into collapsible sea, the last and 9th lifeboat lowered into the Atlantic before the Titanic sank 20 minutes later, he condemned himself to spending the remainder of his days as a pariah. The American press savaged him, naming him coward of the Titanic, while stories circulated that he was even to blame for the sinking, having supposedly pushed for an increase in speed to surpass their scheduled arrival time and gain positive publicity. The scathing criticism against him in the US was also thought attributable to his falling out with newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst just prior to the tragedy. An official British investigation affirmed Ismay's defence that he boarded the last lifeboat only after all available women and children had been rescued. However, London society also ostracised him. While opting for a secluded life, he still did not shirk his responsibilities. Played by Jonathan Hyde in the film Titanic, Ismay spent his remaining career paying out insurance claims to victims' family members, and his own family today insist he was unfairly persecuted. Cosmo and Lucy Duff Gordon. Like Ismay, high society British couple Sir Cosmo and Lucy Lady Duff Gordon became notorious for surviving the Titanic. The first-class couple and Lucy's secretary were among only 12 people who escaped in lifeboat number 1, which had a capacity of 40. The women had earlier declined places in 2 other lifeboats for women and children because Lucy refused to be separated from her husband. Lady Duff Gordon was a well-known British fashion designer who later related that a few men who crowded in the boat were turned back at the point of Captain Smith's revolver and several felled in the process. Similarly, Cosmo was attacked by the US press for not complying with the women and children first order. But the wealthy landowner claimed there were no women and children around when the boat was lowered into the water. He was also maligned for bribing a crewman on his lifeboat with £5 into not rescuing people struggling in the water for fear they would tip over the boat. Cosmo insisted he only gave the crewman money to make up for his material loss. Despite official vindication by the Board of Trade Inquiry, public perception that the Duff Gordons had acted selfishly tainted the couple for the rest of their lives. The musicians. Travelling as second-class passengers, the 8 musicians who performed on the Titanic are possibly some of the most honoured victims of the tragedy. Led by violinist Wallace Hartley, the band members played uplifting music throughout the long, bitterly cold night to calm passengers as they frantically rushed to the lifeboats. Although with the same rights as anyone else on board, the band members chose to stay together and play until the very end. One second-class passenger later commented, "Many brave acts were done that night, but none more brave than those of the men playing minute after minute as the ship sank quietly lower and lower into the sea." The music they played served as much as their own immortal requiem and their right to be memorialised on the scrolls of undying fame. Isidor and Ida Strauss. German-born Isidor Strauss had risen from poverty to become a co-owner of Macy's department store and a member of the US House of Representatives for the state of New York. As the Titanic disaster unfolded, Isidore had an opportunity to access a lifeboat but refused to do so, maintaining that every woman and child must be evacuated first. His devoted wife, Ida, gave her maid her fur coat and insisted that she board a lifeboat, rejecting her husband's pleas to board the boat. She told him, "We have lived together for many years. Where you go, I go," and the couple were last seen on deck arm in arm. Although they died together on the Titanic, only Isidore's body was recovered. Melvina Dean. At only 9 weeks old, Melvina Dean was the youngest passenger on board, becoming the youngest survivor and also the longest living, passing away in 2009. Dean, with her older brother and parents, were travelling on the doomed ship as third-class passengers. The British family had made plans to emigrate to Wichita, Kansas, where her father was planning to co-own a tobacco shop with relatives. Their lives were to change course when the iceberg hit the Titanic. Although the small baby, her mother and brother were amongst the first third-class passengers to board the lifeboats, Dean's father was to perish and his body was never recovered. Instead of proceeding with the family's original plan, Dean's grieving mother returned to England with the 2 small children, and Dean became a popular media doyenne for some time. She went on to work as a government cartographer during World War II, and later in life was active in commemorating the victims of the Titanic. She died in 2009, aged 97, the last survivor of perhaps the world's most tragic and famous commercial maritime disaster.